Thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity. Of course, this is my first experience of this kind, even though live video conferencing I have attended in the past. And I have lectured to students in physical presence. But in absentia seminar, this is my first experience. And so I'm very, very, very happy and very, very glad that wish you all good luck. And kudos to the team, kudos to the team and the brain which brought this whole webinar about. Let me start. And of course, we are, a few days back, we had seen our director of CLRI handing over the sanitizer, even though it is not a very high tech, but yet it was a poignant moment because I don't know how many of you know it. When I was a student, CLRI used to produce a lot of leather chemicals, including lacquer emulsions, acrylic binders, and so that way the CLRI was always ahead of its time for the technology. And then more importantly, when I was working with the Bamulari, where literally we built from scratch the technology for synthetic fat liquors from paraffin as a raw material. And even today it is going very strong. And therefore, we all must be living in admiration of our alma mater, and we should congratulate them for all their efforts. And why I thought that this impact of the, sometime in 2008 there was a financial meltdown, but that meltdown happened in America, in the USA, but yet it had a ripple effect for the rest of the world. But my guess is, if many of you remember it, we very quickly recovered from that meltdown, and now this has hit us. But this has hit all over the world, and therefore I find that the recovery will be very slow. And what we have to do, in the meanwhile, is what I was thinking we should be approaching. I happen to gather some information, the WhatsApp, 98% of WhatsApp is a trash, but 2% is worthy. I recently happened to see in England, the government has, give me a moment. They have coronavirus business interruption loan scheme. It is kind of a stopgap arrangement. I won't know much of the details of this. I am putting across experts in our team like T. Shivakumar, CM Karthikeyan, who know from the financial sector how this goes about. And something very similar to this we have to now work on in our country also. I don't know, this is going to be a long drawn process, but we will have to put our mind into it and see how best we can tide over the next 2 years. My guess is it will take two years for us to spring back to our 2018, 2019 levels. So therefore, how we work towards this. Let me see this one moment. I had suggested, and I made a rough listing where I felt that agriculture will be refocused. Very recently we saw our mass movement of all the migrant laborers to the other parts of the states from Delhi. And I am of the view that 50% of this will not return to the cities. They will stay put, focusing on agriculture. And in the bargain, of course, there will be a shortage of manpower in the urban areas, I think, which can be made good by automation. So that means even though the economy will be down, these will be green shoots where automation area will be focused. Again, the internet communication and technology will have a smooth run, will not be affected by the current downturn. US and Europe are very badly affected. And that is where I felt that it is going to take about 2 years to recover. And even though the current problem originated from China, we have one good thing is that now the rest of the world will be quite concerned about going back to China for production. So in which case the production of most of the consumer items may spread across the rest of the world, and particularly in Asia and India. I think we will have a good run in India. So that is a good opportunity. And the fifth point I had made was Italy is completely devastated. I don't know whether they will come back to normalcy, even if the rest of the Europe is going to come back to normalcy very soon. And so they, at least as far as leather is concerned, Italy is the fashion world. India can, I guess, step into that vacuum created by Italy. The sixth point I had made was that you know, we are luckily we have a resilient economy. We are not dependent, very highly dependent on exports like China is, and therefore I think we will have a quick comeback even on the export front for leather. Leather, I'm sure, will not be forgotten. It will have a recovery, but a slow recovery. And what will we do in the intervening period? 2 years, if I'm saying 2 years, what are we going to do with 2 years? I think we will have to intensify our R&D efforts in our leather field, and maybe we will have to go back to vegetable tanning. And then I think we have almost forgotten vegetable tanning, I guess. Maybe we will have to go back to vegetable tanning. And when I say vegetable tanning, we may even have to look at going back to avaram, whether farming avaram shrub and then extracting the tanning agent. It may be a long-term plan, but definitely we should not lose focus on this reintroduction of avaram. And by and large, chemicals have been overused in the leather industry. This is my perception. And in fact, very recently also I had exposure in the textile industry, where again I find that too much of chemicals are used, and for unknown reasons. Whether they are really, I mean, even the chemicals manufacturers are only keen in seeing their sales graph going up. Actually, whether those chemicals are required, why they are required, and in what quantum they are required, no one pays any heed. And so therefore, the companies, manufacturing companies which are based in Europe and China and the USA will revisit their plans. And I think we will become more responsible in terms of usage of chemicals in the immediate future. And all these plans we will have to act upon in the next 1 or 2 years. And so these are my brief ideas about this whole webinar. more than me giving a lecture, I thought that we shall have more of discussions. More specifically, as far as the subjects are concerned, I would like to once again discuss at a later point of time on our pollution and on our chemical use at a later point of time. This in brief is what I would like you people to discuss, and then if you have questions, you can ask, and if I know the answer, I'll be only too glad to answer them. But one thing, as far as individuals are concerned, we have to have a cautious tread in the next 1 or 2 years. We may have to dig into our savings, and we may not get the same kind of salary which we were enjoying all these days. And so we will have to be very cautious in terms of our expenditure can be only on food, shelter, and education of the children and the rest of the things. So therefore, it is going to affect even the consumer market that way. All over the world, this is what is going to happen. So with this brief idea, I conclude my random thoughts. And if you have questions, I'm glad to. And one thing is, as far as this, whatever the coronavirus I mentioned, that British scheme, especially for the industries which is talking about for SMEs. They have already introduced the scheme which is called as Sybil. People like Shivakumar and Shyam Karthikeyan should focus and then educate the rest of the team on this. And I think if we have a rough sketch or a rough plan for financial stimulus, we will have to work and then work later on, take it up with CLE, and then through CLE move the government. Thank you for your opportunity, and thank you for your attention to whatever